Welcome, Uri, to Metallation Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about texture, this new album Genotype, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we started by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band, for example, for like 10 years since your previous album, Phenotype? 10 years passed from that album.
Yeah, today I'm doing fine. I had a long day teaching at the Conservatory of Amsterdam. Also to my student, a Spanish student who is also called Javier,
Mhm.
who's a great guitarist. And yeah, with the band we're okay. We're really, really excited to go on tour. Also a bit stressed, a lot of stuff to figure out, logistics, all the gear, building new setup and having everything working. So also learning all the new material, which is
Mhm.
quite difficult, especially for me, with because there's a lot of synths there. So yeah, having fun, but I think once we're on tour, after a week or something, then we'll be like a oiled machine again.
Okay.
Until then, a little bit of stress, but healthy
Okay.
stress.
Okay. One thing that I didn't note about this genotype because it's like a decade in the making. So although genotype was originally announced in 2016 as a companion of phenotype, you choose to write this version entirely from scratch. So what was it about the 2027 material that it no longer feel like textures, and how does this new music better represent who are you now in this 2026?
Yeah, I think it's many aspects to this answer, but I think or I know our general, like our first idea was to put out this album, a double album, and release it at once and have like a classic album in the sense of like 8 or 9 or 10 songs, and then an album with one long prog song. And at the time, our label Nuclear Blast didn't really like this idea, so they told us to separate the releases,
Mhm.
which also already kind of made the whole concept make less sense. And we did write some material at the time. It wasn't finished yet, but we were forced to go on tour and, instead of writing the album. And then when we started again, we looked back at the old material, and it's not like we didn't use anything from that. We did use a few parts, but it's like, if you if you make a painting and you get some new brushes and new paint, but you look at this painting from 8 years ago, you're like, but I want to use my new brushes and I want to use my new paint. So it
Mhm.
felt really forced to try to get in that same mindset, and the concept we had back then, didn't really work in this time frame, especially now when streaming services are even bigger than they were 10 years ago. So try to think of the marketing strategy behind marketing an album that's one song. You can't really release a single. If you want to, you need to chop up this long song into pieces, which already defeats the purpose of having a long song. So when we came back together, we also noticed that we had matured as musicians, as people, so we figured, why not just try to jam and, come up with some ideas? And that went so naturally, that came so naturally that we just went with that. And yeah, who knows? Maybe we always look back at old ideas if they're usable for new material, but it just felt like we needed to do something with a natural flow and not try to force ourselves into some corner just because we said we would 10 years ago.
Mm. Okay. So, in this situation of the reunion and everything happened during these 10 years, so drummer Steph Brooks has mentioned that is a simple reunion proposal. During a social hangout, brought everyone back together. So, after years of being settled in your personal life, how has the group dynamic changed now that you are more mature as collaborators?
Ah, wow. That's a really good question. Uh, yeah, I think you actually answered part of the question. We have all matured quite a lot.
Mhm.
One of the reasons we split up at the time was half the band had gotten their second child already, so these children are all grown up now, or a bit more. And for me personally, also, I had some time to step back and start new projects, start new social and, entrepreneurial adventures, and I have, and we have as a group a bit more rest in us, more experience in new fields, and we get to take all that back to the table and, kind of reflect on how it was, uh, and try to do better and try to make it more comfortable for ourselves. So we've always been a band that talks a lot amongst ourselves, don't let the frustrations boggle up too much. But I think we do that a lot more now and, really think of the company we are in, like the really the business side of things, like how can we make wise decisions and also talk about, how can we fit our artistic perspective more in something uh that can stay alive as a business better. So yeah, we matured more.
Okay, okay, okay. So the single at the end of the at the age of the winter features Charlotte Whistles. So what led to this collaboration? And how did her vocals style influence to the visionary luminary designs of that specific track?
Um, yeah, we actually for this record we wanted to do a few more collaborations even. It didn't really work out. It, it was a timing thing, like we needed to finish the album, but some songs were not finished enough to send to certain people. But At the Edge of Winter was one of the first songs that was actually finished. So we could send it out to a few people, and we actually decided to choose somebody we already know, close to home, we have personal relations with, or we're in the same scene. Uh, so that was actually quite easily established. Charlotte actually did bring a lot to the song, but we didn't change anything. Like the song was really already finished, but we knew we wanted vocals at specific parts. We sent her that demo. She sent us back her vocal demo, and we made like one or two tiny changes, and that was it. So really smooth collaboration, and she's really, really professional. So it went quite, yeah, easily and quickly.
Okay, okay. Other song that captured my attention is especially Measuring the Heavens, because
Ah,
have been described as soul-warming journeys for a lot of people. So how much did not musical influence, such as the film Koyanastikasi, influence the more ambient and expansive sound on this record?
oh wow. How did you come to Koyaanisqatsi?
Well, I'm just reading just information here, recopiling everything.
Okay, yeah, that's my favorite movie, and not only mine, but a few guys in the band. Philip Glass is a really great inspiration. But I think throughout the album, and especially keyboard parts, if you pay attention, there's a lot of minimal uh, influence in there, like music-wise,
Mhm.
um, sound-wise, just attention span, a lot of repetition, rhythmic repetition, um, yeah, which is really influenced by this whole classical minimal movement, which Philip Glass is also part of. And as far as the journey go, I think all the songs on the album rely on attention span more than, well, I think At the Edge of Winter is really a pop song. But if you look at the ending of that song, it's also, stretched out part, long tension span. And Measuring the Heavens is really, it starts out small and it just grows and grows and grows. And it never stops up until the end, which is, uh, yeah, I think a bit like Koyaanisqatsi, because Koyaanisqatsi really is kind of gets on your nerves, there's more tension and more tension and more tension. Uh, we didn't specifically like inspire that one-on-one, but the music of Textures is heavily inspired by minimal composers as Philip Glass.
Mm. Okay, interesting, interesting. So now on this record, you work with the producer for Rester Stable, for Rester Stable from Carnival for the mix or genotype. So how did his signature style help bridge the gap between your heavy technical roots and the more melodic conceptual direction on the new material?
Mm, yeah, that's a really cool question. I mean, I know him because of Carnival's album Sound Awake,
Mhm,
and that was also the reason for working with him. But um, we gave him a few examples of how we wanted the album to sound. But I think
mhm,
uh, what he did, he just listened to what he got, and he listened to what the music wanted to do. So I think he really put his own vision on there. It's really modern. It doesn't sound anything like Carnival, I think. It's like really modern, really high energy, crisp, you know. So he just did what he thought was best for the music, and we all really liked it. So of course we had some back and forth, fine-tuning specific parts, but yeah, kind of the choice to make it sound so modern is also something he added. So this was really cool collaboration in that sense. And also exciting because it's the first time we've worked with someone outside of the band to mix our album.
mm. Okay, talking about more things related for this new album. The other things one song that captured my attention is Vanishing Twin, because this new album explores deeply personal themes like this vanishing twin syndrome. So,
Hmm.
how's being more mature as a band allow you to tackle these more vulnerable psychological subjects compared to the conceptual themes of the phenotype or dualism?
Um, I think uh, this wasn't how do you say um it wasn't on purpose.
Mhm,
But uh, as you might know, the concept of phenotype, like in general in biology, is observing things around you, the color of somebody's eyes, the color of a bird's feathers, you know.
mhm,
So really looking from inside to outside, and genotype is looking at your DNA, your roots, where you're coming from, and lyrically, this happened like naturally. So especially phenotype, we were looking at the world like politically, religiously, systems in the world that we have some sort of critique on. Um, but being away as a band for so long and also maturing as people and actually getting the time to really learn yourself, knowing yourself. I know for myself, I've been in therapy for a year and a half trying to better myself. Uh, a seat for the like-minded is actually about that. Um, and I know Steph and I mostly wrote the lyrics.
mhm,
And maybe it's just like the sum of our time on the earth, you mature as a person, and at first you're mostly a child, angry at the world, and then you grow up a bit and you learn that maybe a part of the problem lies within you, and you look at yourself and you try to at least fix the things you can within yourself. And that's exactly what happened lyrically in Genotype. So looking inside and hopefully, I mean, we wrote these lyrics for ourselves, but I hope I can help at least one person, you know, with
Okay, okay.
this.
Okay, I understand. Now, talking about more things related for live performance and European tour now. So you are currently on the dual tour alongside Ginger and Unprocessed as pioneers of you are as pioneers of the modern technical metal scene. So what is the like sharing the stage with the bands that were heavily influenced by your early work?
Uh, on one hand, it's really cool. It's a great honor.
Mhm,
Uh, on the other hand, I mean, they've surpassed us, we're the opening act now.
mhm,
So it's it's slightly bittersweet. It's still, I mean, first of all, it's a great honor, but uh, it's for us, it's a chance to kind of show the world again who we are, get new fans, uh, and hopefully, kind of uh, conquer our place in the music scene again.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Like, what kind of tour should we do? Should we do a headline tour? Should we do a support tour? But we've been away for so long that if we do headline tour now, it maybe be for two, three, 400 people, and now we get the chance to ride along with these big bands. Do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people a night shows, which hopefully helps us to grow our fan base.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this is the part I hate about making music, and that's the commercial side and the company side of things. You make choices based on the future other than just trying to make the best music you can.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, that's weird for me usually because when I hear textures, it was from Polars, like in 2000,
Ah,
at
nice.
the beginning of 2000. And also, when I hear Ginger, Unprocessed, or more bands, all the times in my reviews and when I comment with another people, I said textures with Cybrid, with Tesseract, and with Periphery. I like the first wave of this. Now we are calling modern metal, and that
Yeah.
at that moment is you are the like first stones at that era. I don't know. Well, for me, it's my special thing.
No, yeah, but I really like that I feel the same, but music is also like about marketing and stuff, and I really hate that part, but it really works for some bands.
Mhm.
So it's something you have to accept as an artist. Like, I mean, Textures pioneered some stuff, but there were a lot of bands before that Textures
Mm.
drew their inspiration from. And I think it's really cool to see that bands manage to make it even bigger. Um, and for us, it's a way to kind of say, okay, we did that. Let's do something new again. Let's reinvent ourselves. And I think that we managed to do quite well with this album.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So now, returning to this live performance, so you recently returned to India in late 2025, playing for 1,000 of dedicated fans in cities like Mumbai or Bengaluru. So how
Yeah.
did that spiritual energy in the India impact your mindset as you transitioned into this heavy 2026 European tour?
Uh, yeah, it was a good kind of training. Well, first of all, let me say going to India is always amazing. The fans there are super crazy and like super positive and like really good energy. Um, but it was really nice. It was actually the first time we played Edge of Winter there live, which
Mhm.
wasn't even released then. So it's a good test to see what works, what doesn't, um, and to kind of stay on track. Because if you're on tour, especially after a week or something, you're like a machine. You know everything. You can play all the parts with your eyes closed, and the only thing you're really focusing on is the energy you give. So it's nice to have those kind of measuring points where I mean, before that we didn't play for a few months, so kind of you stay sharp. So
Hmm.
it's nice. And
Okay.
also India is amazing. We went on holiday there with half of the band, and it was super cool, great food, scooter rides, lying on the beach. The
Okay,
life.
okay. Okay, okay. Now, also all the time you are bringing like more technology to the live presentation, like modernizing the stage. So you've shifted to a more streamlined mobile app control monitor setup for live shows. So does
Mhm.
this technology freedom all allow you to be more in the moment compared to the more rigid technical setups of the early years?
Wow, that's a really cool question. You're the first one to ask us. Um, nice. I think for us, what's a big game changer is the in-ear monitoring.
Mhm,
We already started this at the last couple of years when we were still playing. Back in 2000, I think 14, 15, we started this, and that changed a lot for us. You know, we can just hear each other a lot better. I know as a keyboard player, I'm always like the last one in line when it comes to monitors. Sometimes a venue doesn't have enough wedges, you know, for on stage, so I can barely hear myself. And now we can all play with click track, you know, really hear each other. We can use our phones to put, you know, everybody has this mix. I can put the guitars louder on my left side without bothering anybody else. Uh, this is really nice, and obviously the not having to carry 8, 10 bass cab or you know that's great. I think it's really good, and it makes it, you know, the technology has gotten so good that even Genotype was recorded for guitars entirely on quad cortex.
Mm.
Uh, you know, it's just that good. You hardly hear the difference and makes it so much easier. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I personally embrace technology. Well, I use my laptop live, but I've always done that.
Mm.
So yeah, you know, you should. There's so much things to think about as a musician, and you can be a purist, which I appreciate as well. I mean, I use in the studio, I have here my all my analog synths set up, you know. I use that on the album, but for live, I just use my laptop because that stuff is gonna break, you know. It's really expensive, and my laptop is just two cables, and I'm done. And as you know, modern technology approaches the sound of analog gear. I mean, why not embrace it and make your life a little bit easier? So yeah.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. Well, I remember when textures appears in the world since the first album Polars, and a lot of people try to put like I know the labels progressive metal, the gen metal. I remember I hear an for especially for Metal Hammer, they technical metalcore. I don't know why metalcore, but either way they put it metalcore at that moment. So no, you have often pushed back against these labels like metalcore, the gen at that moment. Now in 2026, where do you feel textures fits in a scene that has become increasingly fragmented it in a lot of the subgenres?
Yeah, it's terrible. I I I get so lost in the woods, you know, where each tree is a genre or a subgenre. And I mean, I just want to go into the woods, you know, because I love the forest. So for me, it's always metal first, progressive second. But then you get all these discussion. Yesterday, somebody from also from Spain, uh, she told me that, well, yeah, but progressive doesn't have the harsh vocals, you know, it's always clean vocals. Yeah, I'm like, okay, but really, uh, you get so many subgenres and you can classify each album in slightly different subgenre. It doesn't make sense anymore. So you can use math metal, you can use metalcore a little bit, but you know, for me, metalcore is kill switch engage. So mm,
Mm.
so actually no. You know, technical metal, yeah, sure. Is it modern? Well, yeah, we tried to do new things, incorporate electronic music elements, just reinventing new stuff. But I don't know, more labels just make it more difficult to actually feel what it is. So actually, I would just want to go back to metal.
Okay, 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 okay. Now, so we are very close to this interview, Uri, and well, for the matter for the future, what's next for the future in general? So, after this 5 week trek through Europe, are these plans to revisit other global markets, perhaps, or will focus just shift over or the next phase of the visionary luminary designs you will build for the next label for Kaleidoscope?
Cool. Yeah. So we made the choice to do a support tour for this album to really, you know, reignite our fan base and let people know we're back. And I think we're gonna focus on that a little bit more. you know, really try to reestablish ourselves. And then at the end of this year, maybe do another small support or co-headline tour to really ready ourselves to do a proper headline tour, you know, kind of get out of that small venue and step it up a little bit. And we don't have that many festivals this year, but hopefully next year we'll get to do a proper festival season and a proper headline tour. And then, yeah, I really hope we can focus on another album then. But let's see how this one goes.
Hmm.
So it's really
Okay.
exciting.
Great, great. So now, and well, talking about more, especially for the future beyond of genotype. Now that the conceptual counterpart to phenotype is finally out. So does the band feel a sense of closure with this, or this is the beginning of an entirely new multi-album era?
No, it won't be like multi-album. Well, we do feel closure because fans have been asking for this album for 10 years. So it's nice to finally say, okay, we close this phenotype, genotype part. But during the writing process, we did notice we have a lot more inspiration for new stuff. So we did kind of dis rediscovered ourselves production-wise, sound-wise, songwriting-wise. So I personally would love to explore this more, but we will have to see what happens, you know, if if this album flops, we will have a hard time as a company here. We'll see.
Okay,
One
okay.
step at a time.
Great, great. Well, Uri, we arrived to the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. As usually, Texture is a great band. I hear since the Polars to the Jazz Genotype. You have a great records on your discography. Congratulations on this new one also. And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday a full Latin American tour? Who knows? And obviously, Methalarium followers.
Uh, I want to say thank you for your support throughout all these years, and I hope you really enjoy our new record. Uh, yeah, and I really hope to see you soon.